Total accident, your kid started it, my sister snapped. On Thanksgiving morning, my niece smashed my son's new $1,300 iPhone 17 Pro Max. No one apologized. I stayed calm. That night, I moved $8,500 and canceled her second delivery. By morning, the chat exploded, and when my sister opened her gift box, she froze. Total accident. Your kid started it. My sister snapped on Thanksgiving morning, like my son's shattered world was nothing more than spilled gravy on a tablecloth. The screen of his brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max looked like crushed ice across the hardwood floor. Silver frame bent, camera lenses cracked, one corner still spinning from where it had hit the leg of the dining chair. My son Eli stood there frozen, both hands hanging at his sides, trying so hard not to cry that his whole chin trembled. My niece Ava, 10 years old and spoiled with the confidence of a child who had never once been made to face consequences, clutched the empty pie server she had apparently been using like a sword. And my sister Vanessa folded her arms and said, well, maybe if Eli hadn't been showing it off, Ava wouldn't have grabbed it. No one moved. Not my mother at the stove, not my brother-in-law at the window with his coffee, not my stepfather arranging rolls in a basket. Like this was all background noise to a normal holiday. I dropped to Eli's level. Baby, are you hurt? He shook his head first because that's what he always did. He worried about being easy before he worried about being honest. Then he looked at the wrecked phone and whispered, "It's okay. I didn't deserve it anyway." That sentence split me open because kids do not come up with words like that by themselves. They learn them. They absorb them. They hear them often enough that they start to sound true. I rose so slowly, the whole room seemed to lean back from me. Vanessa gave a dramatic sigh. Oh my God, Rebecca, don't start. It was an accident. An accident? I repeated. Yes, and frankly, your kid was being smug. Ava asked to see it, and he snatched it back like she was some criminal. Eli's eyes widened. I held up a hand. Not to silence him, to protect him. The truth was, I knew exactly what had happened without seeing it. Ava had wanted something that wasn't hers. Eli had hesitated. Vanessa's daughter, raised on entitlement and excuses, had grabbed, then because breaking things was easier than hearing no, she had smashed a $1,300 phone and waited for the adults to smooth over the mess, like they always did. I looked at Vanessa, 6 months pregnant with her second child, wrapped in a cream maternity dress I had paid for because she needed something elegant for family photos. Hair done, nails done, gold bracelet flashing on her wrist, also courtesy of money she never intended to repay. You're going to replace it, I said. Vanessa actually laughed. With what money? That got a few uneasy glances around the room because everyone there knew the joke. For the last year and a half, whenever my sister said those words, the answer had somehow become mine. I'm Rebecca Black, 37, divorced, senior operations manager for a medical logistics company. I work obscene hours, make very good money, and for years I convinced myself that because I had climbed out of struggle, I was obligated to carry everyone I loved up behind me. My father died when Vanessa and I were young. Our mother coped by turning me into the steady one and Vanessa into the fragile one. I was the daughter who could handle things. Vanessa was the daughter who needed grace. That translation followed us into adulthood with brutal precision. I paid, she needed. It started small. Help with first and last month's rent after one of Vanessa's breakups. Daycare deposit when Ava was born. Grocery money. Emergency dental bill. A car note she swore she'd repay once Dylan, her husband, got back on his feet. Then private preschool because Ava deserves the best. Then dance classes. Then Christmas. Then a baby shower. Then more groceries. Then a larger apartment because the old one wasn't right for the baby. Then prenatal care gaps because of an insurance issue. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I had quietly committed $8,500 toward Vanessa's second delivery and postpartum costs because her insurance deductible was high, Dylan's freelance income was inconsistent, and my mother had cried on the phone that morning saying, "I just don't know what they're going to do without you." Without me? Funny phrase because no one ever asked what I was going to do. No one asked what it cost to keep saying yes. No one asked how many times I had skipped something for myself or for Eli because Vanessa's latest crisis had arrived wearing the family label. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, I had sat in a sterile financial office arranging a payment schedule with the hospital billing department. $8,500. I didn't pay it all at once. I guaranteed it, locked in the first installment, put the remainder on a schedule under my name because Vanessa's credit was wrecked and Dylan's worse. My reward for that was a rushed love you, sis sent with a pink heart emoji. Then the same sister stood in my mother's dining room and blamed my 12-year-old son for his own broken gift. That phone mattered more than the price tag. Eli had wanted it for months, not because he was spoiled, but because he took photos of everything. Clouds, old buildings, our dog asleep in sunbeams, his science projects staged like magazine shoots. He had saved birthday money, done extra chores, and still only got it because I covered the difference as his one big Christmas and birthday combined gift. He had opened it that morning because I knew the rest of the day would be chaos, and I wanted him to have one bright thing before Vanessa turned the holiday into her latest performance. Now it lay dead at our feet. My mother finally spoke. "Rebecca, let's not ruin Thanksgiving." I stared at her. "It's already ruined." Vanessa put a palm to her stomach in that theatrical way she used whenever accountability approached. "Can you not stress me out? I'm pregnant." There it was, the family force field. Pregnant, overwhelmed, sensitive, doing her best. Meanwhile, my son was standing beside a broken gift trying to make himself smaller so adults could stay comfortable. I bent, picked up the ruined phone, and slipped it into my purse. "We're leaving," I said to Eli. He looked at the untouched pies, the turkey, the table set for 12. "But dinner we're leaving." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Seriously? Over a phone?" I turned back so sharply even Dylan straightened. "No," I said. "Over the fact that my son got hurt, your daughter broke something expensive out of spite, and every person in this room is working harder to protect your feelings than his." Silence. Ava began to sniffle the way children do when they realize the grown-up script has failed them. Vanessa snapped. "She is a child. And Eli isn't?" I took my son's hand and walked out while my mother called my name in that warning tone she had used since I was 15 and old enough to notice the rules were never the same for both daughters. The drive home was quiet except for Eli's breathing hitching now and then. When we pulled into our driveway, he finally said, "Mom?" "Yeah? Did I do something wrong?" I parked and turned to face him fully. "No, you did absolutely nothing wrong." He swallowed hard. "Aunt Vanessa always says I act spoiled when I get nice things." That one landed like a blade slipped expertly between ribs. I reached across the console and cupped his cheek. "Listen to me. Having something nice because your mother worked for it and wanted to give it to you does not make you spoiled. And nobody gets to destroy your things and call it your fault." His eyes filled. "Okay." I got him inside, made him hot chocolate even though it was noon, and told him he could spend the day upstairs with a blanket and movies while I handled the adults' part. Then I sat at my kitchen island, opened my laptop, and did the one thing no one in my family thought I would ever do. I stopped rescuing Vanessa. The hospital portal still had my agreements open. I called billing, confirmed my identity, and revoked authorization for all future payments not yet processed. The woman on the line was polite, almost bored. She said the existing processed amount would remain, but the scheduled balance would revert to the patient's responsible party by morning. "Thank you," I said. Then I opened my banking app and moved the remaining funds I'd set aside into Eli's education account, and a separate repair/replacement line in my household budget. $8,500 reclaimed. After that, I canceled the specialty gift box I had arranged for Vanessa to open at dessert. A luxury postpartum recovery package I'd curated myself. A cashmere robe, meal delivery certificates, prenatal massage vouchers, and inside the envelope beneath the tissue paper, confirmation that I had covered an additional private recovery nurse for her first week after delivery. Non-refundable? Some of it. Cancelable? Enough. I canceled what I could and repackaged what remained. Then I printed something else and slid it into the envelope. By 9 o'clock that night, the family group chat exploded. "Mom, Rebecca, you embarrassed everyone today." "Vanessa," Ava said she didn't mean it and Eli was flaunting it. "Dylan, can we all calm down?" "Mom, she's under a lot of pressure." "Vanessa, you know I can't afford to replace a phone right now." "Me, I know." 3 dots appeared instantly. "Vanessa, what does that supposed to mean?" "It means I know exactly what you can't afford." Then I muted the chat, tucked Eli into bed, and slept better than I had in months. By morning, all hell broke loose. First came my mother calling the 47. "Rebecca," she hissed the moment I answered. "Did you cancel the hospital arrangement?" "Yes." "You can't do that." "I just did." Her breathing sharpened. "That was for the baby." "No," I said evenly. "It was for Vanessa, and yesterday made it very clear what my place is in this family." "You're being vindictive over a child's mistake." "No, I'm responding to an adult pattern." She tried guilt first, then outrage, then tears. I let each one pass through the silence and die there. By 8:30, Vanessa was calling. I answered on speaker while packing Eli's lunch. "How could you do this to me?" She cried. No greeting, no apology, just accusation, raw and indignant. "The hospital emailed us this morning. They said I'm responsible for the balance." "You are. I'm your sister. And he's my son." "That has nothing to do with this." "It has everything to do with this." She started to say it was an accident again, but I cut in. "Did you tell Ava to apologize?" Pause. "Did you offer to replace the phone?" Another pause. "Did you once ask Eli if he was okay?" Her voice turned sharp. "You always do this. You act like you're better than everyone because you have money." I laughed then, once, because there it was, the family myth I had funded for years, that money had simply happened to me. Not that I had worked nights, weekends, promotions, brutal deadlines, and years of saying no to myself. Not that I had built stability from scratch after a divorce that nearly gutted me. To Vanessa, resources were a personality flaw if I stopped handing them over. "No," I said. "I act like someone who's tired of being used." She hung up on me. Around noon, my stepfather called with a measured disappointment routine. He said family shouldn't keep score. Interesting, considering the score had always been carefully kept when I was the one expected to contribute. At 2 o'clock, Dylan sent a long message about stress and hormones and how Vanessa didn't mean it the way it sounded. I replied with one sentence. Eli did. Then came dinner time, and with it the final act. Every Thanksgiving, my mother insists on a leftovers night at her house. People drift back in. Pie gets reheated. Gifts for the little one sometimes reappear from hiding spots. Vanessa had texted everyone that morning that dessert gifts were still on the sideboard from the previous day, and she planned to pick hers up. So I drove over with Eli after making it clear we would stay 10 minutes, no more. He wanted to avoid them, but I told him some endings are better witnessed than imagined. When we walked in, the room went tight. My mother's lips pressed into that brittle line. Dylan looked exhausted. Vanessa looked triumphant until she saw the box on the buffet with her name still written in my neat black script. She assumed, of course, that despite all the drama, I had softened. That was my sister's biggest weakness. She mistook boundaries for moods. "Oh," she said, forcing sweetness. "You brought it after all." "I did," I said. Eli stood close to my side. I squeezed his shoulder once. "Go ahead," my mother urged, desperate already for a reset, for the scene where everyone pretends love and access are the same thing. Vanessa lifted the lid. On top was the robe, folded beautifully, tissue paper, ribbon, a card. Her smile returned too fast. "See," she said to no one and everyone, "I told you she was overreacting." Then she opened the envelope. I watched her eyes move left to right. Once, twice. The color drained from her face. Inside were 3 things. The cancellation confirmation for the private nurse and postpartum add-ons, the notice from billing transferring the remaining responsibility back to her household, and a copy of an invoice from the Apple Store for a replacement iPhone 17 Pro Max, paid in full in Eli's name with AppleCare. At the bottom, the separate card, I had written, "This is what I fund now, my child, not your excuses." Vanessa looked up like the room had tilted beneath her. "You humiliated me," she whispered. "No," I said. I was actually very clear. My mother took a step forward. "Rebecca." I didn't even look at her. "Don't." Vanessa's hands shook. "You brought me a box just to make a point?" "Yes." Dylan rubbed his forehead. "Back, maybe this could have been private." "So could yesterday," I said, but somehow my son learned in a full room of adults that his pain was less important than Vanessa's comfort. Eli was very still beside me, listening. Vanessa's voice rose. You are punishing a pregnant woman. No, I'm stopping access. Over one mistake? Over years. That shut her up for half a second. Then, because truth has a smell, and other people begin to recognize it once it's in the air, my stepfather quietly asked, "How much had Rebecca committed this time?" Dylan stared at the floor. Vanessa didn't answer. I did. $8,500, not counting groceries, gifts, school pickups, baby furniture, and the rent money from August. My mother went pale. She genuinely had not known the full number. Vanessa had a habit of taking money from multiple directions and letting everyone believe they were the only one helping. I kept going, calm now, cleaner with each word. I paid for your shower venue when your card got declined. I covered Ava's tuition deposit. I bought your stroller because the one you wanted was safer. I filled your fridge twice this month. And yesterday, after your daughter destroyed my son's gift, you called him spoiled. Vanessa's eyes flashed with that old, familiar hatred, the kind that only comes when a dependent person realizes the person they leaned on has finally stepped back. You think you're some martyr, she said. No, I replied. I think I should have stopped much sooner. My mother started crying then, real tears, but for the wrong thing. Not for Eli, not for the years, for the collapse of the arrangements she had helped build. Can't we fix this? She pleaded. I looked down at my son. We already are. Then I turned to Eli. Do you want to stay? He glanced at Vanessa, then at the ruined remains of yesterday and everyone's faces, and shook his head. No. Okay, I said. We walked to the door. Behind us, Vanessa said, smaller now, so that's it? You're just cutting me off? I stopped with my hand on the knob, but didn't turn around. I'm cutting off the version of me you depended on, the one who kept teaching you that harming my child had no cost. Then Eli and I left. The next few weeks were ugly. Vanessa sent long messages swinging between apology and blame. My mother tried to broker peace by pretending both sides had valid points. Dylan asked whether I could at least reinstate part of the hospital arrangement for the baby. I refused. Not because I didn't care about the baby, but because I finally understood something I should have learned years earlier. People who build their lives on your rescue will call your boundary cruelty every time. I did one practical thing. I sent Dylan contact information for a hospital financial counselor, a payment assistance program, and 2 local agencies that helped with maternal care billing. That was all. No money, no guarantees, no stepping back into the role. And slowly, life in my house changed. Eli relaxed first. Kids do when the pressure around them lifts. He stopped apologizing before asking for things. He laughed more. He took photos again, this time with his replacement phone, and one evening he showed me a picture he'd captured of our kitchen window lit gold at sunset. It looks peaceful, he said. It was. As for me, I realized how much of my exhaustion had never been work. It had been emotional taxation, constant vigilance, the dread of the next call, the next emergency, the next guilt-soaked plea disguised as family loyalty. Without that, my home felt bigger. 3 months later, Vanessa gave birth. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no movie scene redemption. She and Dylan worked out a payment plan. My mother complained privately that they had to make sacrifices. I almost laughed at that. Welcome at last to the ordinary consequences most adults live with every day. Ava sent Eli a handmade apology card, clearly supervised, but the sentence at the end looked shakier and more sincere than the rest. I was jealous and mean. I'm sorry I broke your phone. Eli asked what he should do with it. That's up to you, I said. He put it in a drawer, not displayed, not trashed, just kept. A record maybe that someone had finally said the right words, however late. I haven't fully forgiven my sister. Maybe I never will. Forgiveness is cheap in families that expect it on demand. What I have instead is clarity. I know now that love without limits becomes permission. Help without accountability becomes enablement, and children are always listening when adults decide whose feelings matter most. The best gift I gave that Thanksgiving wasn't an iPhone or even the canceled box that made my sister freeze with the truth in her hands. It was this. My son saw his mother choose him. Completely, publicly, without apology. And no amount of money I ever spent on my sister could touch the value of that.